Good evening, everybody. My name is Jonathan Trop. I have the privilege of chairing the EDIT Task Force. I welcome everybody to our meeting of February 12th, 2026, and I call the meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. I would invite everybody please to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the Republic for which it stands,
one nation, God, indivisible, with justice for all.
We're not joined by our clerk this evening, who is going to take the minutes from the recording. So for her benefit and others, I will report that in addition to myself and Vice Chair Shala Fleming, we have Rick Bolton and David Rosenberg, and just in the nick of time, Rodney Gray. We are joined by Town Council Liaison Jennifer Winchell, by our ever faithful Bill Chin, and by Town Council Jim Cordone. We have received no correspondence since our last meeting. And Bill, if you would just check to see if there's anybody who is interested in making public comment. None. Okay, we move quickly to the next item on our agenda, the approval of the minutes of January 8th. I think that everybody except Rodney is eligible. Everybody who's here except Rodney is eligible to vote. But before there's a vote, there needs to be a motion. Does anybody want to make one?
Make a motion to approve our meeting minutes from January 8th, 2026.
Second.
Thank you. So for the benefit of Joanne, Shala has moved the approval and Rick has seconded. Any discussion? All right. All in favor? That's unanimous with Rodney abstaining. Thank you all. That takes us to the first substantive item on our agenda. As previously reported, for the purpose of our minutes, we are just joined by Samantha Miller as well. Good evening, Samantha. Welcome.
Hello.
Our main item of business for this evening was a discussion with Chief of Police Michael Lombardo that had been on the calendar for a while, but unfortunately he had a conflicting meeting that came up tonight with the Board of Finance, and it was a command performance. He had to be there. We all appreciate that. He has graciously agreed to come join us in March at our March meeting instead. And so we'll just table that, and I'll put it back on the agenda for next month. That takes us to old business, and as previously discussed, Shala and I were able to have a meeting since the last meeting of this committee with First Select Person Vicky Tesoro. I didn't keep track of exactly how long it was. Maybe you did, Shala, but I would say we met for a good part of an hour. And I thought it was a very constructive meeting, as she always has been. Vicky was very appreciative of the work that we're doing, and continues to express her support for our activities. We asked her for her thoughts on EDIT, and she shared essentially that. We told her that we would like to invite her to a meeting, and we did not nail down any date, but she expressed confidence that we would be able to work that out, and she looked forward to joining us at one of our future meetings. We asked her for feedback on the anti-bias training that we had arranged for her and the cabinet and some others, and she, I think it's fair to say, was expressed views similar to those that Tom McCarthy had expressed, that the training had been valuable and she appreciated it. She wasn't, sure, I think, exactly where it should go next, but looks forward to regrouping with Tom and talking about that. And I think she appreciated that we arranged it for folks, and is interested in considering where else it might be useful. We discussed with her our desire to better coordinate with the education department. And she was supportive of that, recognizing that they are essentially fairly independent of her administration. And she encouraged us to talk to, obviously, directly to Dr. Semmel, and as well to some members of the Board of Ed, which we can do. And then the last thing that we talked with her about was the survey that we had sent to her, and that was in some respects, the primary purpose of the outreach to her. Unfortunately, she had not, in all of the hurly-burly, had a chance to look at the survey at that time, but she asked that we send it to her again, as well as to the chair of the town council, which we did. Notwithstanding the fact that Vicki had not seen the substance of the survey, she was, I think, open to the use of town means to distribute it. And she indicated that there are some limits to what can be done. She does not have, for example, a complete email list for everybody in town or other means of direct distribution, but she indicated that potential resources might include posting on the town's website, disclosure in the First Selectman's newsletter, use of the town Facebook page. Perhaps the senior center has an email list that might be deployed, and conceivably even the superintendent of schools, who has emails for families in the school system, might be a source of some support for us, assuming that Dr. Semmel is willing to do that. So that would be a discussion to have directly with him. She also mentioned maybe there's an Instagram page. I don't know if there is. That was the sort of the gist of the conversation with her. Subsequently, we did hear back from the chair of the town council, who appreciated the substance of the survey and had some sort of procedural concerns. Most significantly, her concern was with shenanigans. Once you use SurveyMonkey, you can't fully control what you get back, whether one person sends you 50 responses or 50 people who have nothing to do with the town send you responses, or even people who have something to do with the town and submit only one response can submit nonsense. I don't know that there's any good solution for any of that. The only solution that has occurred to me since she raised the question is whether we wanted to revisit putting your name mandatory. I'm not inclined to do that, but I am inclined to raise it for discussion by this group, because maybe others will feel differently in light of that expressed concern. I don't think she had really any other expressed concerns that are worth calling out. She had a couple of questions that I tried to answer. So I'll stop there. I want to give Shala a chance to correct or amplify anything I said, and then I'll open it up for discussion.
Nothing to correct. I amplify everything you shared. I think you captured it well. I think the one question that the leader of town council did pose that I thought was an interesting one, which we spent some time talking about, but maybe not entirely, is like, and what are we going to do with the data? And is there a plan to share it and that sort of a thing? And so, I think that's something we can continue to sort of think about. And I don't think that precludes us from getting the survey out, if there's support for that.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on that report?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, right.
I think that I'd like to get everybody's thoughts on it, but can we do like maybe do it in phases? Like let's just try to get it on the town website and then see what comes out of that. Then you can do another rollouts in another platform, and then so on and so forth, and then start to collect your data little by little and see how it goes.
My gut is not to do it that way. I think if we're rolling out the survey, we want to have people recognize it as a single survey as opposed to having somebody think I filled that out last month. Why am I getting this again? And they fill it out again or whatever else. I'm concerned that our message is most clear if we are focused.
Well, then we would have to probably narrow down exactly what distribution lanes we want to focus on. Because when you start talking about different department heads or other people getting in the equation, I think it's going to really slow it down, especially if we start talking in the Department of Education. If we just do 2 or 3 lanes, then, focus on that. But I think, me personally, I think a town website is a really good start because it shows that the leaders of our town are really backing this survey, and they're really showing the residents of the town that we're interested in hearing what they think. So if you want to do one carpet blast across the board, maybe we could decide on what those avenues would look like and which ones would make sense, so we can move this quickly.
I have a thought on that, but Shal, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to, as Rodney was talking, it did make me think as we think about, what mechanism there is to get the message out to as many people as possible. While for a select person's office does not necessarily have email contact for everybody, to whatever extent folks in town are signed up for the sometimes she comes on the voicemail and you leave you a message about things, right? So if it is on the town website, perhaps we could use that system as part of maybe another message that's going out or its own message to let people know that is where the survey is, link is located and they can find it there and complete the survey.
I think the use of that system has sometimes been a hot button issue because of different views about what it's intended for. I inferred from Vicky's silence about that system that she would be reluctant.
That's probably not the way.
But
sure. I just want to say one other thing about it is that I appreciate, well, maybe I don't, but I hear the concern about the noise that might come in a survey being distributed and, what sort of, genuine responses or lack of genuine responses or people acting like there's somebody else or whatever might come through. I just personally feel it's important that we do not get scared off by that and choose not to do it because of that fear. I think we distribute the survey, and then as we are looking at and analyzing the data, we can figure out, right, like the extent to which we believe there may or may not be noise in the data, but I don't think it should stop us from sending the survey out.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jennifer?
Is there a way to prevent people from taking it more than once, or taking it 10 times? I mean, I know people in this town who would take it as many times as they could get a hold of it.
It's not such an easy thing to do. Using SurveyMonkey in particular as a means of distribution, I'm quite confident that there are ways to spend money to do it more securely. But I'm
sure there is, but we don't have any money.
Exactly. So, we have to figure out a way to sort of balance the costs and benefits, and I think we're likely to be stuck with reduced security in favor of cheap and wide distribution. Samantha.
Yeah, I was just going to elevate something similar to what you said, Shala, that I do think there's always a concern when you're sending information out publicly, things like survey around, some of the data, there being noise in the data. But, I think the last time we met, we talked about the data being a point in time and a backdrop to a larger conversation, right? It was to give us information to start that would inform further conversations that we had. We talked about whether having an event, a town hall, or something else to begin to validate some of that information, right? And the hope would be that then people would want to come out, hear what we've learned, and have more conversations. So again, it isn't, or the way I'm hearing it is, it isn't intended to be the only source or the only means of information, right? It is a starting point for further conversations.
Yeah, I don't think that the chair of the town council intended to suggest, I certainly didn't understand her question to suggest that we not proceed. And my response to her, to her legitimate concern was not to let the need for the perfect be the enemy of the good. Not so much in those words, that I just think that we're going to have to accept a little bit of noise and move forward. So unless somebody on this committee feels differently, we're still pushing forward. And the question is at what speed and how. I appreciate Rodney's concern that when you start to try to think about coordinating through lots of different people or places, you can end up getting slowed down. The weakest link kind of metaphor, that you have to wait for the last of them. We can reach out to Dr. Semmel and see how fast he wants to jump on board or not at all, and decide whether to wait for him or not. I think if we can get some agreement on the substance of the form, and I'm still trying to make sure that there aren't any concerns from the administration. The administration would help us to pursue most of these channels all at the same time, and so there would just be a single release through multiple town channels, trying to get the word out. I have no problem if we drive everybody towards the town website to get the link. Yeah. Although I don't see any reason why we couldn't include the link in all of these places. Jennifer,
are you envisioning a time length for this thing to be out there? Are you going to say, okay, it's going to be out on the website for a month or 6 weeks or 2 weeks, whatever?
That's a great question. I'll open it up for discussion. I will share my gut reaction, which is that yes, we should have a time limit for any number of reasons, including that if people know that there's a time limit, one hopes that they'll actually do it, as opposed to if they don't see a time limit. And I think we would want to be in a position to be able to say at some point in time, we have our results, as opposed to having this constant discussion about when do we stop, because we never said there was a deadline. So
you don't want it dribbling in.
We could talk about how long the time should be, and I'm happy to have good advice, but it seems to me that once we get it out there, if we can get it out kind of widespread, having the survey be open for something like 2 to 4 weeks would be appropriate. What do others think?
Yeah, that's the time frame that came to mind for me, was somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks. And just to go back to the issue of sort of like what mechanism, I don't know that this is any better. It probably introduces like other types of limitations. But creating a survey using Google Forms does allow you to restrict to a single submission. But the downside is that folks need to sign into a Google account. Like it sort of like requires an automatic entry of an email address that is Google related. And so we are potentially excluding folks who don't have a Google account if we were to go that route. But that is one way that we could ensure single submissions.
Yeah, I guess what you're also doing is causing the those who are most sensitive to their privacy to fear that their names are associated with their answers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's not going to be perfect. So we're going to get noise. It's going to be some issues. It's just about we're on the clock, because when December hits and we roll into January, that administration is going to be back in the campaign, and then we're going to be that's going to be the priority. And it goes quick. We're in February now, so I would like to know what the next steps are.
Well, I think I wanted to report on where we were. my view is that we should circle back with Vicky and Ashley and perhaps Dr. Semmel, Marty, and just get going. I don't see any reason not to at this point.
Sure.
If this committee is ready to go, and I think we are. Okay. Any further discussion on this? Okay, moving on. Book club. So Shala and I and actually David's wife Anne and a number of others attended the February 2nd book club, Difficult Conversations with a Jew. Was it sort of similarly attended in terms of numbers? We had, whatever it was, a dozen people around a table. It was a somewhat different group this time. Some who had come in the past didn't, for whatever reason, come. There were a few new faces. There were a few Jewish faces who had not, I think, been with us in the past. There were others who may or may not have been Jewish. I didn't take a poll. It was a good conversation. I think that there was sort of universal appreciation for the book choice, notwithstanding the kerfuffle that had preceded the event. There was nobody who came out who expressed concern for the content of the book or the selection of the book. Mr. Block didn't attend. I think he was unable to attend, but I don't know if he would have come even if he had been available. There was some discussion of the concerns that he had expressed on social media. And at least the feedback that I understood is that people were very glad that we had a chance to talk about that book. And I thought that it was a constructive discussion. Shala, again, I'll give you a chance for rebuttal.
No, I 100% agree with what you shared. I did appreciate, both some of the consistent faces. I think we have folks who essentially would probably, call OGs at this point. They've been to pretty much every book club. And then definitely the new faces that were a part of it. I think one thing that stuck out to me, in addition to appreciating the book itself, was that people appreciated the structure of the book. In terms of it being written as a conversation, and the sort of sometimes aligned and sometimes diverse perspectives that were presented between the two authors, because it serves as a model for how we don't need to jump into our feelings and our emotions when somebody says something. Like, we just lean in and ask a question, or try to understand more. And so that, I think, was a really, I think, as the office is a thoughtful component, but one that serves as a model for how we can engage with each other in the world at large.
Okay. Any comments on that report or further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, I'll move us on to the second part of the book club agenda item, which is next book. I'm going to take for granted that we're going to do it again unless someone objects. And that means that we need to pick a book and a time frame. We received from the library an updated sort of list of potential books. We're not limited to that list, but those are books that have been shared with us as ones that the library thinks would be appropriate and that they can get. Some of those books on that list we've read. Some of the books on the list we've considered. And then I think there are probably some that we haven't seen before. Shala was kind enough to distribute it to everybody, I think yesterday or this morning. I've lost track. I think it was yesterday. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to look at the list. What I thought we might do is, if we're ready to pick a book tonight, great. But if not, I thought we might have a preliminary discussion around possibilities, and then see if next month we could coalesce on a choice and pick a date. The library will start to get anxious if they don't hear from us by March. But I'm thinking that if we pick a book by March and set an event in June or July, maybe June is better, that timing would work out pretty well. If folks think that we don't have the luxury of that time, then we could try to work harder to make sure we have a book selected sooner than our March meeting. As I said, I don't know if people have had a chance to think about this at all. Did anybody have a chance to think about books that might be good choices? Okay, so I have given it a little thought, and I will share my preliminary thoughts for whatever utility it has. I was particularly intrigued by. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Go ahead. Jennifer, college first.
I was going to say we should pick one that deals with a different type of person than the previous books. Does that make any sense?
Yes, and the one I have in mind meets that criteria. Shallow.
Yeah, I similarly to Jennifer, I think something that we have done, whether intentionally or not, is that we have tried to be diverse in the types of texts that we are reading. And so I have two that caught my attention because they, first of all, they're like newer to the list. The ones towards the bottom are newer that Kathleen added and are, sort of perspectives that we have not engaged with before. And then I have two that are just like favorite reads of mine. So I was intrigued by the Poverty by America book and also One Person, No Vote, and how voter suppression is destroying our democracy. But then I'm also a very big fan of Jennifer Eberhardt's book Biased and Celeste Headley's book Speaking of Race. So those would be my top choices.
Okay. Thank you. So for good or for ill, the two that caught my eye were none of those. I was intrigued by Interior Chinatown by Charles Yu. It caught my eye for a couple of reasons. One, as Shala said, we've been mixing it up. As Jennifer suggested, we should mix it up. And so this would be from the perspective of a person of Asian heritage, which is different than I think what we've been doing. And it's a work of fiction, which is also different from what we've been doing. And both of those were particularly attractive to me. And then the other one that similarly caught my eye, by the way, not for nothing, but among my criteria was trying to find things that I thought would be easy reads as opposed to some others, was Good Talk by Myra Jacob, which is a memoir and graphic novel, as I understand it, written by an Asian woman, an Indian woman, but in connection with her thinking about how to communicate with her half Asian, half Jewish child. And so, although it in some respects it's a nice segue from the last book that we read, I think it's rather different in terms of its focus. So those are the two that caught my eye. I'm perfectly happy to consider any of the others that Shala named. Shala, you identified 4 of them, right? 27, 31, 32, and 33.
Yes, 27, 31, 32, 33.
Okay. So
I am also a fan of Good Talk, so I can get behind that for sure.
Okay. So the 2 I added to the list were 22 and 30. That doesn't mean, by the way, that we can only pick from among those 6. If people have strong recommendations about anything else on the list or not on the list, we can consider it. Do people want to try to come to a consensus tonight, or do people want to have a chance to think and look, and we'll come back in a month? Samantha first.
Go ahead, Rick. Okay. I had 2 more I'd like to throw in the mix. And again, a number of these I'm not super familiar with. Some of them I am. But Poverty by Matthew Desmond. I think I read his book Evicted. I think it was an amazing book.
That was one that Shala had named. So 2 votes there. And what was the other one?
And then the other one was disability visibility was the other one I also put out there.
So I don't know anything about that book. I see that it's by a woman who, just judging by her name, is presumably Asian. But disability, we did the Being Human book, which is not to
Right.
say that you shouldn't also read this one, especially if it brings a different dimension to it. I just mentioned that there, to the extent we're trying to do something a little bit different, that one might be close to one we've already done. I don't know. So back to the question: now we got 7 books on the table. I don't want to try to force something through without people having a chance to think. And if Rick or David or Rodney, or for that matter, Chris or Jennifer, and for that matter, Jim and Bill, if you have views, if people want to have a chance to think about it and suggest more books, we can come back in a month and try to nail it down. I do want to nail it down next month, but I don't feel compelled to nail it down tonight.
I think quite frankly, I think any of the books on the list would be a fine read. But I like you, I was very much, the fiction thing popped up as I was looking at the categories. I'm like, oh, what form would that take? So I did read the book that the description of the book that you identified as being fiction. It's just a change of pace.
Rick?
Yeah, actually, before Samantha, I was thinking if we have a fairly small number of books on the table, maybe we can come to consensus. But now we're out to 8,
I think
and
we're
a couple of
7.
different. Sorry?
I think we're at 7.
Okay, 7. And there does seem to be, a little bit of, it's a nice mix. I mean, we have several different genres to choose from. That maybe it would be worthwhile for us to invest a little bit of time so that each of us really has at least taken maybe 10 or 15 minutes to, read the jacket or whatever's, the brief summary available on Amazon or wherever, so that we're making a little more informed decision.
Okay, so let's do that. The list that Shala circulated from the library has links to blurbs about each book. I would encourage everybody to find a little bit of time between now and 4 weeks from now to consider, and we'll let Kathleen know at the library that it's a slow roll for us, and we'll pick next month. Okay, thank you. Speaking of next month, let me give you a quick rundown of the status of our invitations to town officers for future meetings. I've had some somewhat productive, or at least moving forward, emails with Dr. Semmel. I've not been able to speak with him. He's had a busy week even before he had a busier week. So I'm hoping to sync up with him in the near term. I will plan to talk with him about the survey distribution, as well as coming to our meeting if I can talk to him. As I reported, Chief Lombardo will join us next month. Rena Bacalar is out on leave right now. She had expressed some time ago availability for March. I don't know if that will be possible, but frankly, my hope is that this works out well, in the sense that if Chief Lombardo now comes in March, then maybe Rena can come in April. As previously reported, we had a good meeting with the library, but we have yet to kind of nail down a date with them. I have reached out recently, and I'm still waiting to hear back. EMS had at one point expressed openness, but recently that trail has gone cold, so I'll keep pursuing it. Public health, I think I know I reported I had a good preliminary conversation, but she was sort of new to the job and wanted to be later in the year. So I did not revisit with her recently, but at some point in the next month or two, it would be appropriate to do that. And The only folks that I had not heard a word from, despite multiple emails, is Parks and Rec. And so I don't know whether the right solution is to instead approach the woman who did come and meet with us and see if she can help us, or instead to ask for help from some other source. But Parks and Rec has been non-responsive entirely. Questions, comments on that report? Rodney.
Yeah, we including the want to discuss the suspension data with Semmel.
If he will come to a meeting, and if he won't come to a meeting, we may go to him. Yeah.
Oh, okay, thanks. That's it.
Okay. All right. So one item under new business, Rodney was kind enough to share a very quick summary of a meeting that he had with the State Hate Crimes Investigative Unit. Rodney, I didn't discuss this with you, but I would invite you to give a slightly more expansive report this evening if you'd like to do so.
Oh yeah, thank you, and thank you again. This is all in connection to the event that I did back in November at the Islamic Center. State Police actually attended that event, and they reached out to me and they wanted to collaborate. So I went to Middletown, met with two detectives and a sergeant, and they gave me a presentation on what is a hate crime versus a hate incident, and learn why it's important to report such matters if one is directly or indirectly a victim of the criminal offense or hateful act. And the presentation emphasized that it's common for victims not to report a hate crime due to fear and consequences, low expectations from the legal system, or overall distrust from the police. So I posted that and some other plans and thank yous on LinkedIn. And it was some heavy dialogue because of where our climate is today. One of the questions I asked, I was interested in, is how do you compartmentalize if someone is if an issue occurs, if someone's experiencing some type of hate crime incident, and you come to a scene, and how people compartmentalize and not throw, in the bag with ice or something like that. And they just say that they have to really just focus on just the matter at hand and the issues that they face in terms of proving a hate crime versus the incident. And the example that they gave me was, if you and I were fighting for the same parking space, and we get out the car and we start arguing with each other and we start throwing racial slurs at each other, that's more of an incident. And the crime is more of if you have some type of, I don't know, some history or on social media, or if they see some type of track record of that sort of behavior, and then you go out and perform such an incident, a crime that would be labeled more of a crime. They said I was kind of on base with it in terms of something like premeditated versus manslaughter, but that was a little extreme in the example, but that's the kind of the gist that I was kind of getting at. But they're very interested in collaborating with me in the future in terms of the next event that I will be doing. And they are trying to figure out ways to continue building community trust. That is something that is truly needed in our society now, because of, to me, everything feels like it's division. So I'm meeting tomorrow actually with their senior director of external affairs. His title is kind of long. He's a senior director of external affairs and engagement and hate crimes initiative coordinator. So we're meeting at Starbucks tomorrow to have a further dialogue about how to continue this collaboration and talking with the community. So they actually have community events that they host throughout the state in terms of explaining these measures, but it's been kind of scaled back a little bit, but they do have them. and they're ready to work with me in the capacity of the avenues that I have when I do my next event. Anybody have any questions?
Coming to meet with people in Trumbull, let us know, and obviously keep us posted on the discussion. Any questions for Rodney? Thank you, Rodney. Any questions for Rodney?
Yeah. Thank you.
No. All right. Any other business for the evening?
Yes, I do have one more. So I went to a breakfast in Hartford, and I met with this lady who is affiliated with a woman that I spoke to now. She runs a social justice leadership network in Connecticut. I'll read this quickly. So they are a relatively formed network with local community groups focused on social justice. Some of the groups are rooted and connected in our town government. Some are affiliated with groups with concerned citizens. There are 16 to 18 groups in this network in over 20 towns. And they're interested to see if Trumbull wants to be a part of the network. Their mission is to enhance the ability of community-based social justice groups, build diverse, equitable, inclusive, and accessible communities throughout the state. So her name is CJ Gladstone, and I'll be meeting with her next Friday. We're going to further collaborate in terms of what exactly, learn more about what this network does. And they actually have a meeting on Monday that I'm going to go to. And their topic is going to be focused on white allyship, what it is and what it's not. So they do have meetings. Let me see. They have a meeting in April, 1 or 2 persons per meeting. Wait a minute, one of our 2 in-person meetings per year where all groups gather. So that's kind of further down the road. Right now, I'm gonna just go have coffee with her, learn a little bit more, maybe invite her to one of our meetings and see if this committee would be interested in joining this network.
Okay, let us know. That sounds great. Any discussion of that or anything else? All right. I would at this time invite a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. I think it was Rick's motion, Shala's second. All in favor?